Say yes every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined by the incredible Daniel Stevens from Closing with Daniel, powered by Nexa Lending. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to hear your wisdom and insights. And we like to kick off Wednesday Wisdom with, we go through life. We pick up these little tidbits and we learn from those around us, or books or podcasts or different things. And I always find it fascinating what types of things kind of sit with people. So Daniel, to start us off, I'd love to hear, what is a piece of advice or something you've learned in your life that you would like to pass along to everyone else?
I'll tell you something that I've really been sitting with lately. Alex Hormozi says it all the time, is that business owners, whatever you avoid is what you become. And a lot of times I feel like as a loan officer, indecision is what challenges us, is not just taking the actions. There are 1,000 shiny things to pay attention to, and really just narrowing down and saying, hey, I just need to do action before making it perfect. That's been big for me lately.
Number one, I love Alex Hormozi. I mean, I could consume that all day long, he's brilliant. So he pretty much, so number one, entrepreneurial thinking, right? Like it's
Right.
not going to be perfect. You have to take that action. You've got to take that leap because we all know nothing. And number one, nothing's ever going to be perfect. So you gotta do it. But I want to go back to what the actual quote was. So what you don't do is what you become. So meaning if you don't do your sales calls, you're not going to get sales. Or if you
Right.
don't follow up, you're not going to consistently get that business. It's going to go somewhere else, right? Some other person is going to take your former client or whatever that is, right? So, okay. So how do you, and I love that you're speaking about the shiny objects because this is a big thing of mine. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I built my first company, it was before so many shiny objects. We didn't have social media. We didn't have so many distractions. It was blinders, focus. I didn't have any time to look at anything else. But now there's so many distractions. So Daniel, I'd love to hear, how do you keep yourself focused and how do you not get distracted with all those shiny objects?
Really, for me, it's about time blocking, like really understanding that your calendar comes first. So as long as you are keeping to that and doing, whether it's the money making activities or your networking activities, just make sure that you have a place for those and don't just say, oh, there's 30 events going on. Maybe I should just try to be at all of those. And then you're not focusing on, doing your sales calls or, we also have to do loans. People forget that sometimes, that it's a big networking business, but then you also have to set apart time to do pre-approvals or work through conditions and things like that. So usually for me, the mornings are the best hours for that because your phone's not ringing yet. You can focus on the actual file itself, send out your emails to people saying, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. And now whenever they get back to they get back to you later in the afternoon, you can come back to it on your next time blocking session later in the afternoon or evening and say, okay, now let's get this tackled and put all these documents in place. So yes, calendar is the very first thing.
Yeah, I am with you. I literally tell people I live and die by my calendar. Like I can't, everything has to be on the calendar. You know what I mean? Because that's how I plan everything, right? That's how I know how I'm showing up that day. And to your point, you have to have those activities in the middle of focusing in on the loans or following up. We know the real success is in our consistency of follow-up because we can do something today and that's great. But if we don't continue to nurture, right, whether it's our relationships, whether it's our former clients, but we're working way too hard because we're out there constantly trying to look for new, where we need to circle in new plus previous so that there's a healthy balance. Because we don't need to work as hard, right? Especially
Right.
today. All right. So I'm going to ask you, since our topic is shiny objects. All right. Okay. We all know everything is AI now. Everything is conversations of, being able to integrate. And believe me, I'm a big believer in you have to integrate those things, but also don't think the latest and greatest new thing you have to always be chasing, right? You could find something and apply it. So how are you integrating some AI into your workday?
One of the big things that I do with the Chat GPT, one, I recommend you have to pay for it. Just
I
get
agree.
past the free version, go ahead and just pay it. It's $20 a month or something like that. But what I do with that is basically my LOA or my processor assist. I have it built out for each individual loan program. So whenever I get a conditions list from an underwriter, I take it straight to Chat GPT and say, hey, let's pick this thing apart and figure out, let's build a couple different emails. One's for me and my list of things that I need to tackle, title, insurance, handling all that part. The other one's going to be realtor facing. So if it's an FHA loan, hey, I need to get the realtor to get the FHA amendatories and all that kind of stuff. And then the other one is built for the borrower. Hey, I need this, but obviously breaking it down, taking it from an underwriter's verbiage to just a normal person verbiage, and then just giving them a clear checklist of items to get. And then since we use our LOS as Arrive, I
Mhm.
could just create a conditions list inside of Arrive, and then the borrower just uploads straight to it, and we're ready to move on to the next part. So it takes away a lot of like hey, I sent this to you in email, did you get it? Or hey, I sent you 17 screenshots of things, did you get them individually? Arrive will just take them and turn them into PDFs for you. So it's a nice clean process now. So I think that, yeah, using ChatGPT and not having to necessarily have extra hands to help me out is definitely a benefit for me.
So everyone listening, if you are someone that does loans out there, what Daniel just shared with you, that's not even optional. Like everyone should be doing that because we all have the ability to have this tool, right? And for
Mhm.
$20 a month, I mean, come on, guys. Like this is this is a no-brainer. You have to have it. And of course, we always put the disclaimer, we're not putting people's personal information into ChatGPT. That's a disclaimer for the mortgage industry. But what Daniel just said, the amount of time it saves to put it into the voice to where a borrower can understand, and it's simplified, and there's a checklist so that they can do that. We never had that before. That was not something that used to take tons of phone calls and having to go to people's houses and explain it and hold their hand. We don't need to do that anymore. Like what
Mhm.
Daniel's doing, having it, this is for realtor, this is for me, this is for borrower, and have it actually communicate to those different versions. It's a no-brainer. That should be happening every single time. Daniel, thank you for sharing that because, we think that everybody's doing these things. They're not. I can assure you, I think a good amount, certainly not everyone. And it's something we all can be doing. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's great. Okay. Any other things that have found that have saved you time, made it easier for the borrower? Anything that you're finding in addition to that?
Like I said, I mean, we recently were able to switch to Arrive, and I love Arrive as a platform just because of like how it will allow you to create your own conditions list. It keeps everybody kind of up to date on the file as it moves through the progress. It'll send out emails to the listing agent, to the borrower's agent. You can tag transaction coordinators all in one place, and you don't have to, sit in front of your computer and manually send out emails to update people throughout the process. So that's a huge time
That's
saver.
great.
And then just what I like to do also is whenever I do an actual consultation. So most of the time, if a realtor says, "Hey, I've got Mike here. Mike wants to buy a house," I want to have a conversation with him before he just goes on and does an application. I want to see, where's the money coming from? How long have you been on your job? All of those things before we just, hey, get an application, we'll pull your credit.
Yeah.
So once I have that conversation and I feel like, hey, this is this is an A client or they're ready to go, let's get them started. I send them like a recap email. Hey,
Okay.
here's what we talked about based on where your projected credit is. I think this loan program might be the best fit. Here's a little mention about closing costs, what all goes into closing costs, and then just build that every time to where right when you get off the phone, you can just kind of go back, retype it for that specific borrower, and then send them an email that says, hey, here's exactly what we talked about. You let me know when you're ready for the next step, which would be the pre-approval.
Yeah, and so important what you just said, Daniel, because to us, what we're saying, it kind of is on autopilot because we've done this over and over again. But for Mike, that this is his very first time, it's extremely overwhelming. There's so many things running through his brain as you're asking these questions. And he's like, oh, did I pass the test? Right? Have I been on my job long enough? Do I have enough asset? Like he doesn't even know if he's answering right or wrong or what's going to happen. And so during that time, he's really not paying attention to you saying, okay, Mike, this is the next step of what we need. This is what's going to happen. Because in his mind, he's thinking, am I qualified? Am I okay? Am I going to get this house? Am I going to let my wife down? All of these things are processing in his brain. So you're sending that follow-up. He's able to then review it when he's calm and
Right.
focused and able to think about things without that running through his brain. So very, very good tip for everyone out there. The follow-up afterwards is almost more important than the conversation you're having initially. So thank you for that. Daniel, how did you get into the business?
I actually got in the business during COVID.
Ah,
So I'd been researching, do I want to do the real estate side or do I want to do the mortgage side? And I'm more of an introvert, and decided that me sitting with the numbers and doing the puzzle piece of the loan sounded more up my alley. So I just jumped in back in July of 2020
wow.
and just didn't look back. It was me and my wife decided that at that time it was like, well, if you're going to do it, let's go ahead and do it now and let's just see how it goes. So
Daniel, what
here,
did you do before?
so before I was actually working in logistics. I was working in an
Okay.
IT department for a logistics company
Ah,
and decided, hey, instead of figuring out systems and making systems talk to each other and troubleshooting that, now I'm troubleshooting finances and putting the puzzle together that way.
I
So,
love it. And
yeah.
and of course you stuck with it. You didn't
Yep.
just stay during COVID, you actually kept going as the market changed. So congratulations. I'm pretty confident that as we go in the next 5, 10 years, you'll look back and go, I survived one of the hardest times in the mortgage industry, but I did it. I stuck with it and now it's behind us. So
Yep.
I'm sure that's what's going to happen in the future. All right. So, Daniel, the way we wrap up Wednesday Wisdom is I am a big believer that when we say things out loud, it kind of plants the seed to our futures. So, I like to end on the notion of if I pulled out my magic wand and allowed you the ability to create anything with unlimited resources, you have all the answers, you know exactly what to do. What one thing would you do?
That's a good question. I feel like the one thing that I'm very proud of people doing lately, is just getting your plan together early. I don't know how many times in the past couple of years you get a call where it's like, hey, our lease is up in 30, 60 days. And it's like, wow, we really don't have much time to plan or strategize anything because we just have to get you pre-approved and find a property. I've had a lot of people that have been reaching out saying, hey, we're ready to buy or we want to buy a year from now, 9 months from now. So that gives us plenty of time to focus on credit. Are there any ugly things on credit that we need to focus on? Did you recently switch jobs and we need you to be at that job for a little longer before we can use that steady income? Anything that you can do to just get prepared earlier, the better. I'm not talking about we're doing a full pre-approval and checking credit and all that, but let's just have a conversation and figure out kind of what your budget looks like. What are some things that maybe you can pay off in the meantime and just help your overall situation when the time is right.
I love that. Being prepared ahead of time so that you know what to expect, having the answers, and allowing yourself to go through a process, not stressed, calmly
Right.
and enjoying that process, right? I love it. I love it. Daniel, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. And how can people learn more about you and get to know how you can help them?
You can visit my website at closingwithdaniel.com. You can also find me on pretty much all social media platforms at Closing with Daniel.
Love it. Well, thank you so much and wishing you all the best always.
Thank you.